everybody being here tonight. Just so the public knows, this meeting is in accordance with Oklahoma laws and has been posted accordingly and advertised accordingly. We'll go ahead and start with roll call. Councilman White here. Councilman Roosevelt here. Councilman Baird here. Riley, Councilman Riley, and Councilman Allen here. Yes, switch. All right. Councilman Allen, would you give us an opening prayer? And then after the prayer, if you'd all follow me in the place for allegiance.
Our great kind Heavenly Father, we're grateful to meet this afternoon. We're grateful for the opportunities we have to gather together to discuss ideas and to try to help serve the will of the people in our area. And we ask that we can be enlightened, we can be open-minded and listen to those who have concerns and try to address those. We're grateful for the freedoms we have. We're grateful for those who fought to protect us and who do so every day. We ask that we can be blessed with good leadership and help us to make good decisions. And we say these things in Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Councilman Allen, you said that you discussed the minutes. Did you have an amendment to the minutes? Is that what you're saying? Are there any amendments or corrections to the minutes?
I move to approve.
Second. A motion by Councilman Roosevelt and second by Councilman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion passes. We'll go ahead and do our public comment period. If there's anyone in the public that would like to take 3 minutes to address the council, you can do so at this time. Are there any that would like to take that opportunity? Seeing none, we'll move forward with our agenda. We have, remind me your name.
Jeff Baker.
Jeff with Jones and Mill with us tonight. Presenting, I guess you and Kirby are going to present to us chip seal bid.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll come back to you.
So I think maybe, did I send you that map, Ryan?
Yeah, I don't know why else I can do if you want me to give me a minute and I'll have that.
So the Kirby and the Public Works they've kind of got a recurring list of streets that they want to do maintenance on. And so most of the streets, correct me if I'm wrong, Kirby, are streets that were left over from the last project that we did last summer that we didn't have enough money to complete. And there's obviously more planned, but we decided to try and get some of the work done this year. Would do the chip seal portion of the streets that we have. And so that's kind of what's represented here on the map. We also kind of decided Duchesne County was looking at doing some chip seal at the same time. And so to try and help get more favorable bids, we kind of have combined the projects in the bidding process. And so if you look at the bid sheet that you've got, there's a bid schedule 1 and bid schedule 2. So bid schedule 1 would be the Roosevelt City portion. And honestly, I guess it's kind of more the hopes and dreams that we'd see how bids came back, and we've got the ability to scale that down as needed. The bids do include money to crack seal and also some patching. We call it pavement repair in the bid before applying the chip seal. So just kind of trying to take care of all the needs on the streets at the same time, instead of just trying to throw something over the top. So that's kind of how it was. As you can see, the low bid was CKC, and then Burdick and Arm Chapman. And I know there were a couple questions of, do you have to take the low bid? And the answer is probably not. Usually the phrase that's in a lot of the contracting documents is the lowest responsible bidder. Mm-hmm. But again, that leaves it open to the city to determine who's responsible. CKC is the contractor that did the street maintenance project last year.
Yes.
And maybe you can tell them how you thought they did, Kirby.
You know, I thought they did it right, but there was a few things that was slacking a little bit. I think that we need to concentrate more on our crack sealing. You know, there's a process before you chip. We just need to follow up with that.
I noticed that on even State Street here where it was chipped and sealed before it was crack sealed, and I thought
Yeah, exactly.
that's,
Yeah, those kind of things, we discussed that, haven't we?
Yeah.
Jeff, that
So I think there's a
we
few
need to
things.
make sure that those get done before the chip sealing can actually take place. You know, those steps.
does this bid that they submitted include the crack seal
Yes.
along with that?
Yes, it is. And some, like he said, pavement repair, which is your potholes or low spots, I'll take them out first, along with the crack sealing.
Are we, so when they did it before and they didn't crack seal first on some of the roads and they just chip sealed, was that?
Well, I believe it was a funding issue that they had so much to crack seal instead of doing what I think the process should have been, the 3 steps, basically, that they went ahead and did some more to get it done, but it, to me, necessarily wasn't
approved.
right.
By somebody else?
That's somebody else. Yeah. But I just believe we do it right, even though it may not be as much getting done, but it's done right.
So it wasn't as much CKC's issue as them being allowed
I
to do
believe
that?
so, yeah.
Yeah, the last project was a little different
Absolutely.
because
It was.
the chip seal and the crack seal were bid out separately
Mhm.
and awarded to separate contractors.
Um,
And I'm not sure that the projects were actually coordinated well either, to make sure that we crack sealed
Yeah.
the same streets we were planning on chip sealing and vice versa. But
Gotcha.
there's some things in the works, and I think we've got it set up to where, ideally, we would go out with Clyde and Kirby and mark the areas that need to be repaired and stuff first, so that it's all up front that the contractor knows exactly what the expectations are, rather than just them kind of.
Did we do this before we asked them for bids?
We didn't go mark out for sure, so we give kind of just a map breakdown,
Right.
and we've gone and measured for the most part the area that we need to repair. And so there's enough in the plans and the specifications for them to bid it accurately, but then actually in the field, we would go out and paint on the street for sure what we want them to repair and stuff.
Were you the engineer over the last project?
Yes, last year, yep.
Any other questions?
How was just to work with, were they good to work with?
You know, they were good to work with.
Regardless of
Right,
the
exactly.
issue.
Yeah, like you say, regardless of the issue, but they were good to work with, and I believe they'll follow up and do as they're asked, you know what I mean? Give them more of a direct, you know what I mean, not, like Jeff mentioned, there was different companies that out different crack sealing, and I still think they were on the same page, and when they ran out of money, they continued to chip, so things got dropped.
Nice.
But that I think is definitely taken care of this year.
I think CKC does. I think all 3 bidders were
They're all
responsible
very
enough.
good.
Each probably have some downsides and some positives, but, I think there's things that you always focus on. Number one, making sure that they perform the work according to the contract documents. And, usually on a project like this, it's making sure that the traffic control is adequate, you know what I mean? And that's, all contractors struggle with that on a project like this, just because you're trying to cover so much ground at the same time. But usually that's, I guess, kind of the benefit of having an engineer on board is we're responsible for making sure they do that, and kind of enforcing that.
Some feedback I got last year, it wasn't last year that we did a lot of chip seal, was that there was a lot of chip left over in the gutters and things that they didn't come back and clean up and things like that. And so, not that that's a big thing, I just want to make sure that.
That's part of the bid.
Yeah, it
It
is.
is, yeah. I'd be interested to know, because that's another thing that we kind of watch for. So the plan and specs read that when they chip seal a road that's curb and gutter, they're required to sweep that up and clean all the excess.
Yeah.
On a road that doesn't have curb and gutter, a lot of times we'll just sweep that onto the shoulder.
And that's fine, because that reinforces the shoulder over time, so.
And obviously it does take time, and that sometimes residents don't know that, they'll sweep it into the gutter and they'll come pick it up, but it takes a few days kind of through the process. So we would definitely want to make sure they do keep everything clean.
So I got a question.
Yes,
Who did the street just below the movie gallery right there, that second east, I believe, all the way down? Was that CKC? Because I think it got done the same
It was
time.
CKC. right?
But for some reason, that
They
got
got
cracks.
cracks in also,
Yeah,
right? But it was CKC, it should have.
because that street's still holding up great, and cracks have really opened up. I mean, it looks great. So if they can do that kind of work, I think that they're, because if they did that, then I think they're capable of doing a good job if we include that in the.
Any other questions, comments?
I would just, go ahead, man. I already said so.
Okay, my concern is always like, we're responsible for spending the citizens' money. And, if we get the same quality, around the same quality work for $51,000 less, that's a lot of money that we have left in our checkbook to be able to utilize.
Yeah, and I agree with Vince. My concern would be sometimes a little bit isn't all, that's why I asked about it, if you have to take a little bit. Sometimes knowing things that have happened in my life or I've been aware of, that sometimes a little bit isn't the best work and then you end up having to go back and fix it. And the only other concern I have, and it's just minor, is that, and nothing against where they're at, but they're in Altamont versus the other two in Roosevelt, and it's a Roosevelt project, but again, I think it comes down to dollars.
There's a certain policy that came up at one time. If it's over a certain amount, then, and if it's within a certain amount, then we should use the Roosevelt company, but if it's over, and this is 64,000 difference.
It's usually maybe like 5%.
Yeah, and that's what I said, I'm good with that. That's my only, the downside for me is just that it's out, because I would prefer, supporting the Roosevelt city
Right.
entity. But I also understand we need to be good stewards of the city's money. Well, as much, so I'm just saying that's a concern. I would still support the other one. Like I said, my big concern is more of the low bid. Sometimes you get what you pay for, right?
Well, I just want to say too, I appreciate what's being done with the roads. I appreciate the way we're going about fixing the roads. We're actually addressing the road with issues instead of addressing certain areas, and I really appreciate the objective, the objective way that you're going about that. And I appreciate Jones and Mill, helping us with that, because that's what we want to see, is those that have need get done, not necessarily certain areas always getting done and other areas getting neglected. So we appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, and I would add to that, I think too, just making sure we get the right treatments for the roads. You know what I mean? There's some roads that just honestly need reconstructing and it doesn't do much to chip over them or anything. So
Right.
saving the money that way until you can do the right thing.
In saying that, I'm hoping that you're continually working on our 1 year, 2 year, and 5 year capital projects lists, making sure that we're assessing those roads and getting those, if we need to go to CIB and those types of things.
Yeah.
For
And
certain roads.
we are, and they're also updating the GIS as we do it.
Perfect.
They'll put on there, what application we put on what road, what year, so we can follow when's the last time that had some maintenance done to it.
We've come a long ways in 6 years. When I was here last time in 6 years, we were just trying to figure all that out. And you guys have got it dialed in. So I appreciate doing that. So with that, we'd entertain a motion of who to go with and approve, I guess. So
I make a motion, we accept CKC.
okay. I'll second it. We have a motion by Councilman Riley and a second by Councilman Baird.
Could I get the amount of,
For $225,865. So the motion is to award CKC with the construction project in the amount of $225,865 for chip sealing and chip sealing. Do you have any?
I was just gonna mention that on some of this, so say if the crack sealing, we can't get this street, say it's really elevated, right? And there's not enough money to get it crack sealed to do it properly. I'm gonna leave it off that list, and so this price could drop because you want it to do it right, or we may shift it to another street. You see what I mean? So the process is done right.
But-
So,
Well, and I guess that raises a question for me, and I'm sorry to bring it up.
no, you're right.
In my mind, if they, so it's a grand total of $486.95.
Right.
So the way this will work is, and I don't know all the answers to this, Kirby, I think the county and the city probably have an interlocal agreement. But the county would be responsible for everything on bid schedule 2.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That's why.
So Roosevelt
That's
City,
why,
Roosevelt City wouldn't even pay that up front. The bill would go straight to the county.
And then we reimburse the county $225,865.
yes,
Is that how that works?
So you'll pay your portion and they'll pay theirs.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when we would bring a partial pay to you, it would be for the work done on yours, and we would take theirs. But you are the sponsor on the project, and so I think it's probably more accurate to say the full bid amount, and you can even caveat that, pending any
Which is
discussion with the county. Yes.
$86.95. And then the county will reimburse Roosevelt City for $260,230.
Correct.
Mhm.
Now, the question that I had was, in my mind, if you see that there was a road that was too alligator to be able to,
right,
isn't that already, didn't they already assess that in the bid?
well.
Some of that is already done, but there's some of it has to play with, there's estimating that goes on and estimating how much crack seal we need, or crack seal is probably the biggest thing, right? Chip seal is pretty easy because you just get the width of the road and the
Yeah.
length and multiply it. Crack seal is usually paid by the ton. And so depending we've got decent numbers that we can estimate, you know what I mean? But if we run into an area that maybe somebody missed and maybe it's even just a small area, you know what I mean? So for instance, what is that, 700 north? Last year when we did the project, we had planned on doing 700 north between 300 east and 600 east, up in kind of that older part of town.
I know exactly.
And then we got up there and that road is like falling apart for the most part, right? And sometimes contractors will go in and actually use all of the crack seal on that. If we happen to run into a road like that on this project, what we would do is say, hey Kirby, we don't think it's worth chip sealing and crack sealing this road. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I think we've done our due diligence in planning on the roads and what they need, but if we do run into something that
Then we save the money and do the right resurface later on.
yes. And the other thing we've estimated on is the pavement repair. We've gone out and kind of measured it, but if we could well come in under that and save another $50,000 to use on another project later.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Clark, do you have anything to add? Appreciate you being here tonight.
It's great, yeah.
All right, so we do have a motion on the table, and that is to approve the total amount of $486.95, of which $260,230 will be reimbursed to us by or paid by Duchesne County. And that motion and the bid to be awarded to CKC. Is that accurate, Vince?
Yes.
And then we have a second by Councilman Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes.
Perfect. I will just leave these with Ryan, and you can sign them and we'll pick them up.
Hey Kirby, thanks for being here to help.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And Jeff, can you, really quickly, did they have a meeting on the railroad today, railway?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I've been up in the Dollar Ridge Fire all day, so
No, Johnston, the Mills.
probably,
Not that well.
but I don't know for sure.
Do you know anything on it as far as, is it still viable? They're still.
Everything I've heard says it's still going,
Okay, perfect.
so that's all.
All right. Well,
Dollar Ridge is burning again?
No, we're just doing the emergency watershed protection projects
Oh.
with both Duchesne and Wasatch counties. So we were up there just assessing what needs to be done on the Wasatch
Thanks
side.
for clarifying.
Yes, no, it's not on fire, luckily. And it's not flooding right now either, so let's keep our fingers crossed.
well, we want some rain. Geez, it's been dry.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
well, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. All right, so the next item is the Cedar View Montvale Special Service District Line Inspection Upgrade discussion. So I'll kind of introduce a little bit. Go ahead, Ryan, stand up there. But this is something that Ryan and I, Ryan particularly, and myself have been involved in working with Cedar View. They're going to do an expansion on their line. They're going to run a main line so far south. And we have discussed with them possibly upgrading that line because it can tie into our line down below. And kind of, if you take over from there, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is our our water system right here, most of it. You can't see the wells up above or down south, but does everybody know where Charmel Acres is? That road that cuts across. So this is 3,000 west. This is Neola Highway.
Neil Highway.
There's that road that kind of comes, oh, I don't know what north that is.
That's about
40,000. Rick, what north is that?
2750.
2750? Okay, so the red is Cedar View's system, and the blue is ours. So they're proposing to go to CID right now to install this line right here. You come all the way across and then head south towards Mayor's house up on Page Bench. Our master plan for Roosevelt eventually will go from here to the tank and bypass the tank as well. And so what we're interested in is Cedar View's only wanting to do an 8-inch line. That's what they need. But we would like to see a 12-inch line because it'll be a main distribution line for us and also to the tank. And so the upgrade from 8-inch to 12-inch is 90,000. And that's only if they get the funding for their project from CID.
Does that make sense?
So basically, we're just tagging on to their thing and just saying, if you'll upgrade it to 12 from 8, then that'll help us down the road when we're ready
Yes.
to.
What would the total price of their project be? What are they spending?
I think they're, 2 million.
Is that almost 2 million?
I was thinking 1.8, but yeah, it's probably, because it was a $3.1 million project and we were 1.5 of that. So I was thinking they were,
It's pretty, I mean, we've discussed it with staff and we need this line to be bigger for fire flows and storage to handle. Because this tank is 60 years old. Eventually, either it's got to be replaced or taken out.
Ryan said he's already got a slight ding on the tank as far as passing the inspection. But the other thing is that if, there's several people up there, Dan, Karen being one of them, that is interested in developing. So eventually, if that line does go through, there's a lot of, that's in Roosevelt City and or it could be annexed in Roosevelt City.
So where's the city limits?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that's a good question.
it's shaped like a dinosaur. Is this it right here,
Yeah.
actually? This dotted black line?
Yeah.
In fact, Mayor, where are you at?
Right there,
Here?
the northernmost tip of that.
Right
Yep,
here?
right up in there.
So that Cottonwood Loop subdivision is right here. Yeah, so this is city limits. And right here, the reason why it stopped is that's our the boundary for Cedar View. Our district.
There's another subdivision plan down the highway south of Cottonwood too.
So those little tiny lines are also water lines, which is not.
Yeah, Clayton owns that property now, and I think he'll
No.
eventually do that. But
Black ones.
all of them that have water down there
No, that's
have really low pressures. And so once this line goes in,
When we tie on to this, there'll be a vault with pressure reducer and master meter.
So the blue line that runs down from the SR 121, that one, does that not have the capacity to continue to supply if they went west on that
it's
one?
on a separate line.
So that actually does a different zone,
And there's
no pressure. So when it comes into the tank, it actually, the pressure equalizes right here. So it can only do so much, where this is a high pressure line here to push in the different zones.
Did the Cedar View people approach you about this because, or did?
Yeah, we've had meetings and
We were almost going to go full on and try to piggyback on their project and extend that line to the tank along with theirs. But with the water or the tank that we needed up in Hayden, and with the economy the way it is, we couldn't commit to tag team with them to do that. So we went ahead with the tank project, and then minimum, we thought, well, we'll get that line upgraded. So in the future, when we do need to do that, it's already decided.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
So we have been
foresight.
coordinating with them quite a bit.
And we have been, and Kurt could probably comment on this a little bit, it is in the budget as far as the water end of things. We've done some frac jobs and stuff, so we've been saving and it looks pretty good, right? Kurt?
Well, and like we talked about, it's a $90,000 investment for the city that could save potentially hundreds of thousands, if not more, in the future, so. And like it's been mentioned, that Cedar View Mount Well is going to CIB in September, and it's probably gonna be a pretty tough, they're probably gonna have a tough go of it, so this may not even transpire. It's all contingent on them getting their funding from CIB.
Another thing I need to make sure everybody understands is declaring a conflict of interest. I live up there, but I would not be accessing that line. I have city water right now and I've already got it from the bottom, so I may pay for a connection or two up there, but I don't really, I'm just saying I'm neutral. I don't really care either way, so I'm just declaring that possible conflict.
I appreciate the foresight and planning ahead instead of looking back thinking, wish we would have done something like that.
Yeah, when they proposed they were just gonna do an 8-inch line, we kind of was like, wait a minute, we better. So we ran some numbers, we had the engineers kind of help us out a little bit too, and for the flows that go through that zone, and if that was to develop up there, we would definitely need a bigger line, so.
And it will, I know a lot of the property owners, there's one major property owner up there besides Dan that owns close to 200 acres. And that's their kind of plan for retirement is to subdivide and sell that off. They really want city water to come through there. And this gets us one step closer, but as soon as they do, I think there's city would be justified in requesting annexation and then, we'd be able to capitalize on that investment as well, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though I don't want to see a subdivision going up there, because that's why we're there.
It seems to be a hot area. Everybody wants to build up there, but we just don't have the pressure right now.
So we need a motion on this,
Yeah.
more discussion.
I'll make a motion. Yeah, I think it's good. I'll second.
Okay, so motion to approve up to 90,000.
Up to $90,000 to upgrade the line from an 8-inch to 12-inch.
Contingent on their getting their,
Contingent on getting.
Perfect. Great motion by Councilman Baird, and we have a second by Councilman White, I believe, right? Or Allen.
And I'll keep you updated on that project, see if it goes through or not, so.
All in favor?
uh,
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next, we have, which the foresight, I have a question. Have we been communicating with Strata, Moon Lake, Dominion, and a few of those on the roads that we're doing, just to make sure if they have any construction?
Yes, it's more about, JR, if we're, they're doing reconstruction, instead of a chip, it's
Sure.
much more expensive.
Right.
But yeah, we have it.
Okay. Resolution 2020-302, this is establishing the Airport Advisory Committee. This came before the council last month, but there were enough adjustments that wanted to be made to that, which were legitimate, that we decided just to bring it before the council one last time for a final approval and make sure that everybody was okay with that. And so has everyone had a chance to look that over and make sure that all the changes were in fact done according to what was wanted?
I can just say I'm not a mathematician like Don is, and I thought that this paragraph was like Tetris. 5 can be this, but only 2 of this, and as long as there's somebody smart enough to be able to translate all of that.
It's gonna be the next mayor.
But only 2 figures, like, it was just, to me, it was like, it is, wow, I need a chart.
Were you here when we talked about, the problem was it allowed 7 members or 5 members. And I didn't think it would be, there were enough people when we first did this that didn't feel like there should be any out-of-city residents on that board. And I thought if it's only 5, then the number of out-of-city residents that can be on that board should be different than if there's 7.
So
And that was the purpose of all that.
that's true. And just to give you a little history, when the board was functioning before, we had several members that weren't city residents. And it was kind of weird because there was nothing to specify whether they could or couldn't be. But I think this, even though it's a little bit more complex,
And I'm not questioning you guys' wisdom, I'm just saying, when I read it, I was like.
it's better because if we have 5 members, that gives up to 1. If we have 7 members, anything less than 7 is 1. And then,
My concern too is just if there's enough people interested, because wasn't there a requirement they could only serve so many terms and have enough people, that's why I tried to get it. That we didn't have to have 7, that maybe 5 would be enough to meet the needs.
And how many people have showed interest?
right now we have 3 or 4 applicants. But at the same time, what we decided to is where we could have staff or even elected officials serve.
Right.
And then if we have, so that the board is functioning. And then if we have more public interest, we can change that out. So we would expect probably somebody from the Public Works to be on the board. Maybe one of us could be assigned to the board or appointed to the board. And then if we had 3 or 4 residents, that would be good to get started and get that rolling. And then we'll just see where the interest lies in the future. But we left it open to elected officials or staff so that if anything, we can have a functioning board and get business done out there. So.
I thought the rest of it good.
And yeah, Mike could come in earlier, right, on the date.
What's that?
The original one had 2019 on it,
Oh,
so I asked him to change that to 2020, so.
sounds good. Any other comments? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll move we approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Busenbark, second by Councilman Riley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Don, you want to talk about this one, the employee barbecue discussion? This is-
Yeah, we've talked about this while I'm concerned with COVID right now, but I would like to do it. I'm wondering if we ought to do it in the spring, like March, April, and have a barbecue. I think it's, to me, I'd like to get to meet the employees. I'd like them to meet me and I'm just here to help serve this, people in the community in Roosevelt, and they're part of that, and they're also helping to keep us going, and so I'm just thinking if we just set a date, and I like your idea of maybe going up to the golf course and we can, barbecue and have some food and just get together and visit. If you want to have the course open and people want to go golf, I don't really care about that issue. I'm more interested in the visiting, and I'm happy to cook or serve or, whatever as a councilman. I don't know about the others. I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I think it would be fun to do that, so.
I'm all in because one of the things, if we do wait till next year, that raises the question, what will we do for the Christmas party? Because historically, we've always had a Christmas party as a city, and that could be something we could do this
We could
year.
do for the Christmas party. I'm okay with that.
Do the barbecue next year, but I know what we've done in the past, what are the plans for this year?
So the winter party, we planned it.
Winter party?
Holiday party.
Can't call it Christmas anymore?
The happy holiday party?
There's a
Anyway.
method in that.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, I get it.
Anyway, we usually as staff, we organize it and then we invite you guys to participate and come, so.
There you go.
Yeah, so however you want to. Is there an echo in here? So that's how we've done it in the past, is we'll plan it and then you're invited, you come. And
So is that something we're planning on doing this year with COVID?
We kind of are,
Okay.
we made reservations just to hold the building for now.
Crossroads Center?
Yeah.
Well, what if we
Just
just,
looking up already.
Because that's an opportunity.
I was gonna say, what if we do that and then still plan barbecue next summer or
I like it.
whatever?
I like that.
I'm good with that. I would like to meet the employees and have them,
Do you still want us to plan the winter one and take that and everything and roll with it?
I think so. Do you think we have time to try to do the barbecue this year, or do you think what do you think? I'm all for it. I think it's great. I know it's been years, but
You have plenty of time, it's just like what Boo said, is COVID concern yet? I mean, and earlier you guys mentioned about inviting everyone. Where the Christmas party, we've only done full-time employees
yeah.
in council, so that's just.
What have they done in the past with the barbecue? Have they invited everyone, or was it just? How did that
I think it was just full-time.
It was just full time.
Carolyn, was it full-time?
Because we're not full-time.
I would like to invite,
That's why we're cutting, you talking about.
I would like to invite part-time as well, and maybe even spouses, I don't know about kids,
How
but
many
maybe
mentioned like
spouses.
the zoning board, housing board?
How many full, you know what, let's do this. Let's take a look at it, see how many full and part-time employees we have, and see what a kind of a cost is going to be, and then we'll run it past Kurt and say, Kurt,
38 full-time employees and about another, well, and this, it varies so much during the course of the year.
Sure.
The pool. Right now, I believe it's in the 165 to 175 part-time employees. That includes council and
Going for
board
steak
members.
to hot dogs.
You sure you want to cut down?
I would argue that I think full-time for the Christmas or winter holiday, whatever you're calling it, that's great. I think for the barbecue, personally, I'm okay because I don't think everyone's gonna come, to be honest with you, there's
I've
always.
cooked for 300 to 500 before. You have to have a pretty good sized barbecue.
We, of course, get RSVP and stuff.
Yeah,
So
so that stuff.
So is this something that we want to try to tackle this year? Hold off till spring and see if things improve?
On the barbecue, I'd hold off till spring. I think we just focus on the winter one. My opinion, I think timing and stuff.
That sounds good.
But I would like to do the winter one and be able to come if possible.
What time of the year basically does the icebreaker tournament hit? That's when they officially open that.
Is it late April maybe? 1st of May?
Yeah, I think it's first one.
I'd say right in that time, probably.
Depending on the spring,
Yeah,
very.
I'd say maybe right around that time. Let's plan on it. When do we hire all the part-timers during the summer?
Well, and I would say,
That's when the course opens, when the outdoor pool opens.
for the part-timers, I could see maybe not inviting some of the kids that are like doing the swimming lessons unless they've been there a couple of years, they're brand new, but I don't want to
It's hard to
discriminate either,
distinguish though. So,
I
and
just
then do
don't
we
think,
allow them to bring somebody with them, like a date, or
well, if we're gonna have that many, I would say no. I would
unless
say-
it's a spouse?
Depends if you want, even the type of quality of hot dogs you want.
Turkey dog.
You have time to think about it too.
Yeah.
If you're solid on May.
Yeah, let's shoot for that first week of May, I think, as a tentative until we get it.
Let's get a kind of a hard number of what all the employees would be, and then we'll kind of stick a number to it as far as what food costs would be. 'Cause, I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking if we have that many, we're probably looking at about $1,500, something like that for a barbecue. Would be my guess. I'm just throwing that out there.
Now, on the winter one, is that just part of the budget that you guys?
Yeah. Yep, and that's full-time spouses and council and their spouse.
Do you have anybody in mind that's planning it this year? Because if it's my turn, I know the council did it.
Look at Kirby.
Hey. It's gonna be really boring if we do it.
So my input for that is, I really think with the way it's going, the state will be green probably before the election, a cautious green. I don't see this thing, they've stretched it as much as they could, and we're not seeing the case counts, the hospitals aren't overburdened, and I imagine the state probably by middle of September will probably go green. That's my guess. So if we did decide to do it like in October, I think it wouldn't be very impactful. But who knows, the status, COVID may not go away till November. So after November 4th.
What are you saying, Vince?
We had 6 inches of snow.
This seems like a prediction.
For me personally, I'd rather push the barbecue back where I know we've got a better shot and focus on the winter and, you know.
Because we do have that already coming up. And the good thing with that is, the thing that I like is it spreads it out to where you have something in the spring, something in the winter, and they're a couple times a year and they're kind of spread out, which is, I like that better anyway.
I do too.
It's like cramming two at the end of the year. So, I mean, I like you guys, but. Good. Any other discussion on that? I don't think we need a motion, but it's definitely good to talk about. So the next item, I would like to go into closed session for, and then we'll come back out in open session for a decision. But it's the piece of property owned by Mark Dennis that we've had some interest in as a city. I don't even know if I should be that specific, but sorry, we already said it that way. So, and what it is negotiation. So we'll go into closed session for negotiation. We'll come back out once we've talked about what we feel comfortable with, and then make that known to the public. So before we do that though, because I hate to have closed sessions in the middle because people leave, let's do everything else really quickly while everyone's here, just in case somebody needs to go. Purchase orders and quarterly financial review. I see those. This is all signed, all the receipts. Does anyone have any questions or comments on those purchase orders?
I got mine answered earlier, so I'm good.
Okay, so seeing none, would entertain a motion.
Move to approve. I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Councilman White, second by Councilman Busenbark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Reports from standing committees. Cody, let's start with you, or Councilman Allen, let's start with you. Do you have anything for us tonight?
I wasn't able to go to the Parks and Rec meeting, but we're still working on our bike trails. Those are coming along. We need some rain to help us out, but.
I didn't go
about that.
I went, they got 4 of the Frisbee golf nets, and I figure that's all they've stands, that's all they need right now. And a few people, I think, used them. If there's enough interest, I'm sure they'll get more. The Mindy Palmer's group had to play a week ago. They said they had, I think, 90 kids involved or
I thought
something.
about 100.
Yeah,
That's what
I
she told me.
think, that's what I thought, 90, I was in that area, 90 to 100 kids, and everybody got to be involved, and the great thing is the high school kids got to help as well with the direction, which helped them learn more about, plays and putting them on and stuff from a different perspective, which helps them, I think. And so there was a lot of positive feedback, and I appreciated the support from the city on that.
That raises a question. Did she come in for reimbursement on that?
I haven't seen anything.
I spoke with her and just told her to put something together and come and visit with you because it's already been approved by the council. I saw her down in the shop. I just want to make sure that happens. So it's $2,895 is what the council approved for that, which is half of what we normally spend, which is nice.
And we had more kids involved, so I was excited about it, and I talked to, who did I talk to? Anyway, I was just saying how glad I was it was in the community, and the money stayed here, and we're getting more kids involved, so I appreciate that. There was another, they didn't have a quorum, so they couldn't approve the minutes again. And so I think a lot of people are somewhere in there. I think now school's starting and things, they'll be able to get together. And I'm trying to remember the other, I apologize, I can't remember the other thing they talked about. I know they were working on the bike trails. I can tell you that I went to the Parks and Rec department head meetings Monday, and they finished up softball. They had their 3 tournaments finished up, that, and things went pretty well. And so that's done. The pool's open again, and trying to think what else. I know they're having a little issue with watering just because we're over a little bit at this time because it's been so hot and not any rain. So there's some concern with the water, and there's a little concern at the Constitution Park, what is it, it's not auditorium, what is it, stage, sorry, I couldn't think of the word I was looking for. I guess some people like to go up there and drive and then go out and do brodies out in the grass and stuff, and then you can drive right up on it, and so they're looking at getting some cameras, right?
Yeah.
So,
get to.
see what they can do to catch people that are, doing that, so. I think that's all I have from the Parks and Rec.
Did you have anything else for us, Cody?
No, the only thing there, everybody I've talked to about the Frisbee golf has played it, really liked it. There's been a lot of positive.
Yeah,
I've
that's
gotten emails on it.
Yeah.
They're like, man, that was so great. Thanks for doing that. And
Seems to be pretty popular.
I pushed it back onto the, hey, the committee is working well and thank them because that's, been doing a good job. The only thing I have other than what's already been said is, the gun range. We went out with Strata yesterday. Rick, did you leave already? There he is. But was it? Yeah, it was yesterday. We went out. Andy Adamson met us out there with a few of the Strata staff. I think they've done an excellent job on the pistol range out there. They've done an enclosure, and they've set cement barriers where you can put targets from every 5 yards, from 5 yards to 25 yards. I mean, they really put a lot of effort in there. We went out and looked at it, state of the art. I mean, it's just really nice. I think we need to get with Lee and we need to get some recognition on that. We might get with the chamber and just, we want to give them recognition for what they've done out there. We also discussed some other areas that we're planning on doing a few more pistol ranges and things like that. We do have a committee over that. And so with COVID being kind of over and we were waiting on some of the GIS stuff and some of the easement stuff to come back, which took longer than we thought, but we're through that now. We'll start that committee back up and start working on those things and see what we can do to expand that gun range out there. So that's just something, one, Strata, we need to recognize them for that. They did an excellent job. And two, we'll get back working on the gun range. So, Councilman Riley, do you have anything for us? Councilman Baird? No, today. Do you have anything else for us, Tom, besides the?
No, the only one I can think was Parks and Rec right off the top of my head, so.
Councilman White, do you have anything for us?
Just a couple of notes from the ULCT board meeting yesterday. There will be a ULCT conference this fall, but there'll be some virtual things. You should get an email about registration in the next week or two. There will be the candidates for governor. There will be a debate, but it'll be virtual. There will be a couple of speakers. They're going to have a few things that you will actually go if you want to meet a group and go do some tours or something. Just of note, Dave Church is retiring.
That never happened.
So they're looking for a new general counsel. He's there until about September, I think.
So can we get those dates sent out, and especially the new council members? I would highly encourage that you attend that. That will.
They're actually all gonna be virtual, I think.
Right, but we still need to register, I'm sure. So can we get that out to the council, make sure that they virtually attend, however they attend?
Notice when they leave.
Each one of us should.
Yeah.
Can you have that up, though, well, or Kurt? Can you have Lee work on that as far as getting those dates and the registration and send it, make sure that we get it sent to the council just in case. And then it's definitely educational and it'll help. It covers a lot of the basics, but it's really good for.
It's going to be September 21st through the 25th, but I don't think this says when it's open for registration. What I read is going to be like registration opens next week. So that will be, this was Thursday. So this week you should be able to register for it.
Perfect. Anything else for us? Nope. All right. Ryan, do you have anything in addition?
There's just a few things I wanted to kind of give you a heads up on. And a question. Right now, with the projects, the airport, it's all but done. There's just a few small items on the punch list. They're waiting on the seating, obviously, until fall. One question I do have for you guys, do you guys want a tour of it and go out there and look at it?
I would.
I do, yeah.
So how would you want to do that? You want to do it before council or individually or together?
As long as we have masks on, let's do it together.
It's 7 a.m.
A lot of that.
And you're the man that
It would
calls
be
it.
better to be all together. So we don't have to close it more than once.
So it's
Let's just do it all together.
the approach light system still doesn't.
There's a few electrical issues. She's actually sending me the list today. I haven't got it, but
Does everyone know Sean? Sean's been assigned to the airport and been taking care of a lot of the stuff out there, so.
He wasn't stealing fuel from the tank?
Yes, I was.
every day.
Every day. No, been there once a week.
We appreciate your efforts out there, Sean, we really do.
So no, the Pappies and the rails won't be turned on until we do the FAA flight check,
Okay.
which is, she's been trying to schedule it for the last month, but the FAA is being really slow at getting back with the engineers, so she's hoping sometime in September. So as soon as we get that done, we can actually leave those on and they'll be up and ready to roll.
I say wait till all that's done.
You want to wait?
Yeah.
It's fine, whatever. I just didn't know if you wanted to go out there when it's 104. That way you can see it out there.
I was out there before I came here. That's why I know about it.
Yeah, we'll wait. Sean, I want you to kind of correlate with me too on that. But what would be best though, like to get it right before council or a separate day?
You just say a
evening?
morning sometime.
Morning? Is that all right with you guys to work?
Dave doesn't really work anymore,
And if,
so.
I don't either, so morning's better for me.
if you could come out with us, show us what you're doing with the fuel checks and
Yeah.
so we're all,
No, I actually go back to work. I went back to work a month ago. But I do have a question. I mean, this brings up the question, and maybe everyone already knows, but I don't. But can we do that as a full council without putting it on?
It's a social gathering.
Is it social,
Yeah.
incidental, social?
We've done tours before, like.
But it's fall under the social gathering, and while we're there, just rule of thumb, don't talk about city business. I mean, don't talk about other things in city business and things like that. Just go and enjoy the project and things like that, and we'll be fine.
Okay. Well, we'll wait till it gets done and we'll set up the time. Second, the sidewalk project on Fifth East, we went through a walkthrough yesterday, made a punch list. There's a few items that they do need to clean up. So if you see them tearing out a few pieces, don't freak out. That's just us wanting them to get it to our standards. So there's a few, I don't know, how much longer do you think they have? Maybe another couple weeks?
Yeah, it will.
And that should be done, so.
So I went home real quick right before I came here, and it looked like they had done a lot, and at least in front of my house, they were working on that area, so. Yeah, and Kirby, I don't know if it was you and, I don't remember your name.
Clyde.
You guys, I noticed you took down that tree on
Yeah.
the city property that was a Chinese elm problematic, so thank you for doing that.
Clyde's the man.
And so you know, that water leak is also been addressed. So
Awesome,
water leak, it's all.
that's good, that'll be good anyway, just,
That knocked out half the punch list.
yeah.
Right there. And then right now, I'm currently in Mayor's helping too. We're redoing some agreements with Oventive, with Newfield, and XCL Resources, which used to be the Axia. We're doing water agreements with them, so we've got 2 or 3 fracs coming. We're right in the middle of one right now, and then Oventive has got a big frac, 8 wells, they say, coming up at the in October, November-ish. So we're planning on Christmas Day, and we're gonna want water on, but it's usually how it goes.
Well, at least there's not gonna be a high demand in the winter time.
Yeah, we would rather do this in the winter instead of right now, so. Anyway, so I'm working on those agreements. I do have one last item. I want, Bruce and I talked about this in one of our meetings. We were hit up by Dying to Dance if they can put a bench at Old Mill Park in somebody's name.
Oh, yeah.
And that individual committed suicide, so we thought it was kind of a sensitive subject, so we thought we'd at least bring it up here and ask, is it okay if we let them put the bench up, or what are your thoughts?
That's a good question because, and I know we talked about this a little bit too, but I know there's a bench at the golf course, same scenario. So it's been allowed, and I get some of the concern is we don't want to. Our heart goes out to those that have experienced that, and the families. We don't want to glorify that in any way either, to encourage others to do something similar to, I don't know, and I don't know if that would or wouldn't, but maybe we ought to talk to Robin Hatch at the Northeastern Counseling and just talk to her about maybe the psychological effect that would have, and see if there's any effect and if it's really even a big deal or not. But she deals with that a lot. You know who she is?
They're not related, are they?
No.
No,
Okay.
no, no. But that's one of her specialties. And so maybe I would just say before we make a decision, that way I would say maybe talk to her and see what her view of that would be, and see if it would,
I would say I'm not necessarily anti, my concern was just if people know, I understand there's a lot of people that pass away and we want to have something for them, in memory of sitting, and I've seen, golf course, but I was just concerned the other way that, because we don't want to make that acceptable, I guess. And I don't know that it would be. A lot of people probably wouldn't even know, at this point, you put it in and only those that knew the person well would know what had happened. The rest probably have no clue, so it's probably not that big of a deal. But
I would like to get her input.
Yeah, I can talk to her.
My concern also, I don't know if this is insensitive or not, but, there's quite a few people who died that way. And I don't know how the families of other people, feel like their people should, their friends and family should have some kind of recognition for things too, you know what I mean? So, I don't know,
When you open that can, sometimes it's hard to.
yeah, when you put one person out there, then you almost can't say no to other people. And I don't know, if it's a good precedence to set, and but if it's city property, it's a city thing. I think in private industry, if someone else recognizes, I think that's a better way to go. I don't know. If we put something there in recognition of the issue that kind of addressed it and maybe was inspired by,
I like that idea better than a specific person, maybe a general.
And you could even make it put, like just inspired by a specific story. And I don't know if you put names on it, but I think that's better than bringing memory of someone's life, because, I don't know, just a thought.
Maybe tell them we're still it's up for debate. We're still kind of talking about it, but we'll get back with them. I don't know that that's a decision. I wouldn't feel comfortable going one way or the other without doing a little more research and talking to Northeastern and some of those other psychological effects.
It's definitely too hard for me to decide, and we talked about it for quite a while in our department head meeting too as well.
Yeah.
Didn't know which direction to go, so.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll update. Other than that, we're plugging along, so we're surviving. Any other questions?
we're thriving.
Surviving.
Do we
driving with
want to
water.
bring up the city manager interviews and stuff before we go to close or anything else?
Oh, I can give an update on that, and then there's one other thing that I thought of, but, so the city manager, we narrowed it down, now it's narrowed down to 4 people. We were doing the final interviews on Wednesday and Thursday of next week. And so the staff, department heads and the council have all been invited to participate in that. So that really what we're looking for, all the candidates that are left, all of them are qualified. They all have the qualifications, they check every box. Now what we're looking for is fit. We're looking for somebody that will fit with the staff and the council and be able to come in and fit in. And so really, that's what this interview is all about. It's just fit. Because as far as qualifications, they're all qualified. So as soon as we find that fit, then we'll move forward, and hopefully that'll be the end of next week. And if it's not, and none of them, we don't feel comfortable with any of them, then we'll broaden our scope and then we look at it. But I think we've got some really good. Hey, you're laughing. What did I say? I just look over.
Looked like Ryan was gonna start crying when you said we'll just start new houses.
Well, the main thing, really, the thing of it is we want to get the right person. The staff have been doing a fantastic job. Ryan's been doing a great job. Staff has supported him in that role, and they've been carrying out their roles excellently. And so, I look at it as we just want to get the right fit, and we're not in a big hurry. And I know Ryan's like, yeah, we're in a big hurry. I want this done.
He's probably getting beat up.
Right. So anyway, but that's where we're at with that. One other thing, Sean, that I was thinking about, there's nothing better, I don't think anyway, that we could do to showcase our airport than have some type of a fly-in or some type of a air show or something like that, even if we plan for the spring. But I would really like to do some event there and get that airport started off on the right foot, get the environments changing out there, with the improvements that we've made. We just want to get, to really showcase the airport the way it should be. So
Okay.
I know where you're kind of signing that. Maybe we can get together, a few of us, and once we get the airport board in place, I would encourage you to be a part of that, or at least come to the meetings and those types of things. It sounds like you're doing quite a bit out there, with the AWAS and keeping everything kind of tight. So maybe we can plan something like that, because I think that'd be great. So,
Yes.
awesome. Yes, sir.
I'd like to have Kurt talk about the grants that
Okay.
we're doing with the county. Just a
Okay.
quick update,
Yes.
is that all right?
Yeah, let's do that.
Duchesne County, Roosevelt City, Mighton, Tavion, and Altamont are collaborating to provide business grants to businesses that were adversely affected by COVID. Just for some perspective, Uena County awarded 270 businesses grants totaling about almost $2.1 million. That type of funding is not available in Duchesne County, but the applications are being funneled through the county. They have a link on their website. They have to meet certain qualification requirements. Business license, unless they're a home-based business, they have to be current on property taxes, and they have to be able to show that they were adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And then representatives from the county and each one of the other municipalities will get together and review those applications. I ran into Commissioner Hanson yesterday at the grocery store. She said they only have 20 applications.
That's it.
And I talked to her for just a couple minutes, and she says towards the end, the deadline for the first round is August 31st. But between the county and the municipalities, we're probably going to have in the neighborhood of $1.2 to $1.5 million. So we just like to get that out to the public, that please look
I
into
did
that.
see that on Facebook too. I think Roosevelt City already posted something like that.
They did, and I was really surprised when I ran into her yesterday that they've only received 20 applications.
Crazy.
And her thoughts were, well, the closer it gets to the deadline, there might be a lot more, but, and we can continue to award those grants beyond August 31st. But I believe UNT County awarded, the groups over there awarded the amount they'd allocated in the first round, so. And it can be $1,000 to $10,000, and I'm sure there's plenty of businesses that can easily show a $10,000 loss of revenue. So I talked with Ryan, thought that might be good to mention to the council. So if you could, we're trying to do what we can to get our word out. We're reaching out to business owners. The county's reaching out, but if there's anybody that you know of.
Every
that-
single one of our Main Street businesses ought to be applying for that. Definitely.
So just informational. So if you would please spread the word.
Thanks, Kurt.
And you can do that pretty easy. I mean, just where I've been out, I've gotten a couple to put in just by me talking, encouraging them to put in. So we all hit different areas. We all shop different places, eat places. So I think we can help our guys get this grant if we push it out there. So.
It's good. Okay, if there's nothing else, then we'll entertain a motion to go into closed
And
session.
we go into closed section to talk about property and personnel, because I have one thing I'd like to talk about.
Okay. And then, and I know what that is. And then, and part of the motion is to come back into it.
And come back to regular session,
Okay.
or open session, no second.
We have a motion by Councilman Boozer Martin, and a second by Councilman Baird. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. So let's take a real quick break.